We're live.
We're live. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon from Delhi Book Fair's Pragati Vichar Literature Festival. I'm Shabri Prasad Singh. I'm moderating the session today. It's a special one. We have a special guest, Mr. Shivakumar, who I will introduce in just a minute. But this is a book launch of a book that is going to hopefully make headlines. I haven't read it yet, but I've got the copy. Once Shiv sir launches it, we will all wave. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Shiv sir. Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Shabri.
The more said about Mr. Shivakumar, the less it is. Born in Bangalore, he is one of the most brilliant thinkers and leaders of our time. He is currently the Group Executive President, Business Development and Corporate Strategy, Chairman on boards he is the Group Executive President, Corporate Strategy and Business Development, Aditya Birla Group. He is also the Chairman on boards like the Mobile Monitoring Association. He is also the Chairman of the Advertising Standards Council of India. He has been awarded many prestigious awards. Amongst them, he is a distinguished alumni by the IIT Madras and IIM Calcutta. He is an avid reader and an equally well-known author. His book, The Right Choice, is an international bestseller. He loves all things sports and all things tennis. Sir, is it true you're a fan of Roger Federer?
Yes, please.
Okay, sir. I'm a tennis fan too. Sir, we'd like you to say a few words about the book and then launch it, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Shabri. Thank you, Kapil, for inviting me to do this. So formally, I'm really happy to unveil the launching of this book, which is India Vision by Kapil and Bhushan. And it's a slim book. It's not more than 100 pages or so. It's an easy read. I got the book 2 days ago and I read it fully end to end. And I've listed down 10 things, which I think are important points you might want to think about. You might not agree with everything the author said. That's true of any book, but I'm sure that it will make you think. So the first point, which I liked from this book by Kapil and Bhushan, is money is about, power is about money and control. You know, when I was studying in B school, we used to have Max Weber's theory of power, formal power and informal power. And at one level, formal power is about money. At another level, informal power, for whatever set of reasons, is about control. The control you have over somebody else is informal in many a case. So that's point number one that I picked up. Point number two I picked up is equality does not mean entitlement. And this is true even in organizations. In organizations, when somebody joins, somebody says, you know what, I'm 2000 batch of MBA, so I should be treated the same as anybody else in the 2000 batch. That is entitlement in my book. That's not wrong. Because you passed out in 2000 does not mean your career will have the same progression as anybody else. So equality should not be equal to entitlement, and we must be competitive. We must stay competitive. Otherwise, you know, just going by a batch syndrome or whatever it is not right. I think the army is a great institution which does not rely on that. The army says always that, you know, performance matters and the very best people make it to the top. Third, and I like this comment where the authors say tolerance towards intolerance is actually bad. And that's very true. Even in the corporate world, when you see something wrong and you tolerate it, when you see bad behavior in a meeting, when you see things which are not right and you keep quiet, then you're actually, you know, aiding it. Then people think it's okay to do it. Okay, so I think that's another important statement which I picked up from the book. I like this comment on corruption, where the author said corruption is equal to authority plus monopoly minus transparency. You know, so if you look at the world, there are about 205 countries in the world. Only about 140 are free, which means they have a democracy, a working democracy, and media is free to report what it wants. That's what it says. So there are something like 1/3 of the countries in the world which are not free. And most free countries, I would say, I would draw a correlation, are corrupt. Most non-free countries are corrupt. Okay, that's what I would say, which goes back to authority plus, monopoly minus transparency. Next is a free market with regulation is the best. I agree with it inherently, but in today's world, when you have a society where the whole concept of ecology matters, I think the rules of governance around ecology have to be much tighter. And hence, a free market is good, but with what type of regulation and who actually determines that is important. In my book, it's society. When society has a role to play and society says this company is good or bad, is not doing the right thing for society, I think we have a better chance. I think simplifying tax structure is something that we've discussed for a long time. The GST is there. It's now collecting about 1 lakh crore rupees every month consistently. I think India has its own challenges. A lot of people do not pay tax, as all of us know. So the first thing is, apart from simplifying tax, getting people to invest their money back in tax, to say, hey, you know what? It's important to pay tax. With our current low level of tax, it's unlikely that we can be an economic superpower, because we'll always have to keep borrowing in order to grow anything, grow infrastructure or whatever it is. Okay, so it's actually good for citizens. So when you go back to bureaucracy, when you go back to other things, it's good for citizens to say, hey, I pay tax. Next, I think holding public servants accountable. I think it's already happening. It's happening thanks to social media. If you look at what's happening around you, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on Facebook, if a public figure misbehaves, if a minister lands up late for a flight and the flight waits for him, people take a picture and post it immediately. Okay. If an IAS officer in Haryana tells the police people, break the farmer's heads, it's immediately captured and put everywhere, and the erring officer has been transferred. So I think social media acts as an automatic vehicle of controlling public servants. There are many governments which already say list our performance of each of our bureaucrats. And I think this will only become more rampant. It's not going to be less in my book. So that's another good idea. Okay. Then the other one, which I'm not sure the country can handle it, is have simultaneous elections. The authors argue that there are 29 elections to the state assemblies and 1 national election, as a result of which we are having elections every 2.5 months. And can India truly bear the cost of these elections? The economic argument is right. I don't know how we'll do it. Okay, to have simultaneous elections both to the legislature and the national level, we will need an IT system, etc., of a very different order. So while the idea is good, now how will it play out is something that we need to think about. Okay. The other point is, the authors say no freebies. And we're just coming off COVID. If you look at COVID, whether you're a capitalist country, you're a communist country, or you're a socialist country, everybody has put stimulus at the table. Why have people put stimulus at the table? Because they have recognized that they need to push private consumption. Private consumption is a very important element of economic growth. India's private consumption is about 55% contribution to GDP. America is close to 68%. So while no freebies in theory works, the biggest freebie actually which is there across the world and everybody accepts is agriculture subsidy. Even the richest countries like France, Germany, America have subsidies for their farmers. Okay, so I don't know where it will play out. I think you'll draw a line somewhere, but no freebies. Where will it end? I have no idea. And my last comment, and this coming from Kapil, I was sure that it would this thing. He says control social media. I think it's already happening. In December last year, Hindu Business Line asked me to talk about 5 trends of 2021. And one of the trends I said, I think trend number 3 was that social media will increasingly come under regulatory bodies across the world. It's already happening. So if you think of a global minimum tax on goods and services, that's the first aspect. Now, almost in every country, Australia has got Facebook and Google down to discuss with them. India has, France has. So I think social media will be regulated. I have absolutely no doubt about it. Now, whether that's good or bad for citizens and how it will play out, I don't know. But it will be up for regulation. And I enjoyed reading the book, Kapil and Bhushan. Thank you very much. And I wish you the very best as you go through your book launch. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Shiv. I don't think I could have ever thought of a better launch or a better introduction to the book than what you just did. So thank you so much for that. I remember a few years back, you made a comment to me saying that it would be great to look at a business model where social media, which is my primary business, what I do the most, gets entangled with the legal business in the world. And we were talking about how there can be an organization that actually from a social media perspective does a lot of legal work, whether it is in terms of advocacy and everything. And I think what we have seen play out, and when I talked about controlling social media, I think that conversation was perhaps my introduction to that particular subject. So thank you so much for the launch. Thank you so much for the conversations we have had in the past, and thank you so much for being there.
Excellent. Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
so
sir.
much.
We look forward to your session.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That was a great launch by Mr. Shivakumar. He's a wonderful guy. And he said a great deal about the book. So, Kapil, I know that you're very thrilled, and so is Bhushan. So congratulations from my side to both of you too.
Thank you so much, Shabri.
Thank you so much, Shabri.
Yeah, so now I'm going to move on with the launch, and I'm going to introduce another special guest, Dr. Sanjay Baru. And let me say a few words about him. Needless to say, he needs no introduction. But Dr. Baru is a political commentator, analyst, and author. He was PM Manmohan Singh's media advisor and chief spokesperson from May 2004 until August 2008. The Accidental Prime Minister, a tell-all memoir about his time in office, is his book, which is a bestseller. It is a riveting read. I've read the book, so I can say it's a riveting read, and he has a lot of doubts, And Dr. Baru has kindly recorded a message for us. I request the technical team to please play out that message.
I'm delighted to be able to recommend and help launch this book by Kapil Gupta and Bhushan Bhati on India Vision. It's an interesting exercise in looking at contemporary India, the problems of contemporary India, trying to understand the nature of change underway, the obligations of civil society, the challenges that each of us are facing. I wish both Kapil and Bhushan all the best with the success for this book. I hope a lot of young people are encouraged to read this book, and that they are able to change their way of thinking about the way in which the country and all of us deal with the challenges at hand. India is passing through a difficult phase, and it's very, very important for all of us to have a knowledge-based, a reason-based understanding of our society, of our nation, of our economy, and of our future.
Thank you so much, Shiv and Sanjay ji, for unveiling the book. It's tremendous to have you both, two people that I look up to unveil my first venture into authorship. Well, let me first say I'm not an author. This book is not necessarily me wanting to author something. This book is more about me wanting to put together a different point of view, a different perspective for people to look at. And that's what this book is about. It's called India Vision New Age Equality. And it's called that because that's what it represents. It is giving a vision for how India should be, how India could be, and what are the various aspects that are good, bad, and ugly about India. And it all is wrapped around this concept of equality. It's not the traditional way of how people look at equality. It is not talking about bringing the downtrodden up. It is not talking about subsidies or reservations or special privileges. It is not talking about women empowerment and LGBTQIA and casteism and religious equality and stuff like that. It is talking about a new paradigm that, in my view, need to be attained as soon as possible. That's the 21st century version of equality. We have spent 2 centuries in looking at how do we bring up people who have been oppressed over the years, over the decades, over the centuries. Now, I'm not saying that job is done. That job will perhaps never get done. And that's what makes humanity interesting. That's what makes life interesting. What I'm suggesting is that we need to change the paradigm. While there may be some versions of helping out the ones who have been oppressed, helping them out to come up, there needs to be equality at all levels to be given to people. And that's what this book is about. And I'm so glad to have Bhushan Bhati here with me as well. Somebody who works with me very closely as my executive assistant, has been a co-author with me in the book. And the fact that he comes as, being a 22-year-old working with a 43-year-old, there is a generational gap. And I think that generational gap has really helped me solidify and crystallize my thoughts better. And it has really helped perhaps provide a few perspectives to Bhushan in his endeavor as he goes forward and moves forward in different ventures in his life. So with that, let me ask Bhushan to join us as well, and let's continue this conversation.
I welcome you all to the book launch of India Vision, New Age Equality by Kapil Gupta and co-author Bhushan Bhati. Today we have author Kapil Gupta and co-author Bhushan Bhati with us on the panel. So finally the book is getting launched and all of us will get a chance to read it today onwards. So first, with Kapil Gupta, so how do you feel today, sir?
It's fabulous. I never thought I would be writing a book. As I said earlier as well, I'm not an author per se. But it's an exciting opportunity for me to put my thoughts across, for me to put my perspective on the table, and perhaps be able to add a little bit value to the readers in providing them a new way of looking at things. I can definitely assure you that there will be a lot of things in the book that you wouldn't like, but then, that's what it is all about.
Thank you so much, sir. Our audience would like to know, who is Kapil Gupta as a person?
So, as a person, Kapil Gupta is an entrepreneur. As a person, Kapil Gupta is an innovator who likes to get involved in newer things. One of the core traits that I have believed and very sincerely followed in my life is being yes to anything new, any opportunity that comes around, that presents itself. And I have always tried to make use of it. And this book perhaps is once again an opportunity that presented itself. It came in a very different form, but it presented itself, and from starting off where it was supposed to be a telltale of my experiences running political election campaigns to becoming something which is an India vision. I think this is really exciting.
Thank you so much, Kapil Gupta. So, Bhushan Bhati. Welcome you, Bhushan Bhati. So, our audience would like to know, who is Bhushan Bhati as a person?
First of all, I would like to thank you for having me here. I'm very excited about the book launch. As a person, I would say I'm somebody who believes himself to be an innovator. Just like Kapil, I am also not a writer per se, but I always knew that, at some point of time in my life, I would write a book.
Thank you so much. We are so honored to have you on board today, both of you. So my first question to Kapil sir. So India Vision, your book, how this thought came to your mind?
So it didn't. It really, as I said, it started off as a telltale of my experiences running political election campaigns. And I have worked with pretty much all political parties, the BJP, the Congress, the Indian National, Lok Dal, the Akali Dal, and I've done consulting for various, people across the country. In fact, I've also done some political election work for international audience as well, not to be named on this particular show. But it was supposed to be a telltale. People wanted me to share the dirty experiences that I have had. While I started writing that, it looked so stupid to me. Why? I'm not somebody who would want to indulge in gossips. I'm not somebody who would want to, misuse whatever I have seen.
So I then at that point of time started penning down my experiences or what I have seen. See, this book is not about me writing, I went here and this is what I saw and this is what happened. I don't think that is important, because that's always a very biased point of view. I have based this book on everything that I see all around me, on my ability as a thinker to be able to extrapolate whatever I have analyzed from myself, from my experiences, and more importantly, experiences of everybody around that I see. And that's how the book started, and that's what the book is. It's a different perspective, it's a different point of view to what is the generally, conventionally acceptable norm, and that's what I wanted to put across as well.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. So my question to Bhushan Bhati. So my next question to Bhushan. So what has been your contribution as co-author?
So in terms of my contribution, I would like to say that we both had different vantage points in life, and we both had different perspectives and a different life cycle. So what has come out of it is that me and Kapil working together with our generation gap taken into consideration, we've been able to fine-tune the book to the next level. Now I've done my fair share of writing in the book as well, but I think my major contribution would be the fact that we've been able to amalgamate our experiences and bring out something which is the best of both worlds.
Okay. Next question. So you have mentioned that both of you don't agree on everything and have yet managed to write a book together. So how did that happen? Kapil Gupta.
That's I guess the key pointer in this book. We have a generational difference between where I am versus where Bhushan is. And generational difference is not just about him being 20-year-old or me being 40-year-old. Even if I was 20-year-old, the 20-year-old that I was at the times 20 years back were very different times. And I think as things evolve, as things move, there are a variety of different perspectives which become important. And that I think has provided a lot of value to the book.
Bhushan Bhati.
Yes, I think that is, as Kapil said, and as I have said before also, that is the key pointer, that is the key thought behind the book, that both of us, we come from, a different life, we come from a different background, and that is what has helped us, create the book into what it is today. So I think working with somebody who's much different than you, it opens you to a lot of perspectives, a lot of things that you would never be able to think of by yourself. So I think that's a virtue in itself.
Okay. So my next question to Kapil Gupta. So do you see this ever turning into a Netflix documentary, your book?
I'm not sure. Truly, I'm not sure. I never planned to write a book. I certainly can't plan to have a Netflix documentary. But I think there are some crucial points that have been discussed in the book which needs further exploration. If they are ever put together in the form of a series, in the form of a Netflix documentary or something, there will be something that the audience would learn beyond the intellectual audience that would read. The audience that perhaps is more keen and is more able to view documentaries. So, is there a value add in this being converted into a Netflix documentary? Absolutely yes. Will somebody be willing to put their money behind it? I certainly don't have the money to do that. We'll see.
Okay. So my next question to Kapil Gupta. If you could have one chapter come true out of all the 21, what would be your top pick?
See, this book is not based on chapters that would come true or that would not be true. This book is more about how things are and how things can evolve. If the question is the chapters that I like the most, then it will be the preface and the conclusion. And what really boggles me is the conclusion of this book. Most of the conclusion of this book was written way back in 2018, when there was no corona, when the world hadn't changed. And if I look at what was discussed as conclusion at that point of time, in fact, has come true in a lot of ways with corona. I expected some of this to change in a decade, but it has happened in 3 to 4 years because corona came and lives got altered in a huge way. Let me give you an example. My sincere belief for the last many years has been that international travel is going to go down. It will go down because of popular nationalism, it would go down because of terrorism, and more importantly, it would go down because there won't be a need for physical movement of people. All the trade and everything could happen purely by physical movement of goods. Now, travel has gone down. And make no mistake, it is never going to come up to the pre-pandemic levels. However, it hasn't gone down because of my reasons. It has gone down because of COVID. Well, I can still say it has gone down because of my reasons, because I don't really consider COVID-19 as either an accident or as a naturally occurring incident. I consider COVID-19 as bioterrorism, and I maintain myself to that. So in a lot of ways, this prediction that bioterrorism and travel and everything will change is one of the conclusions that we had talked about way back in 2018. And I think you will find a lot of value as you go through what is being discussed in the concluding part of the book.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. So the book in detail talks about equality, the equality as perceived by you, the equality of the 21st century. Can you elaborate on that? Kapil Gupta.
Sure. Let me start with asking a question. And I've been asking this to almost all, what I call as pseudo-liberals. A 14-year-old girl getting her boobs pressed and a 14-year-old boy getting beaten black and blue. What is worse? And the answer I get from everybody is the girl, because she went through mental trauma. While I understand what you are saying, and I hear you, my problem is you are telling me the 14-year-old boy who got beaten black and blue did not go through mental trauma, and his suffering is lesser than the suffering of the women. If that is the case, then where is the equality that you want to bring in? You are starting from a position of disadvantage. And I think in the 19th and the 20th century, that would have made sense. Let me take another example. We go through this entire conversation about, how do we need to uplift LGBTQIA. Well, I have a base level issue with that. Why is somebody you sleep with more important than you as an individual? So why is LGBTQIA activists talking about getting special privileges, special discounts, special favors, special whatever? They should be talking about we should be treated equally.
To be frank, we're writing a book about equality, but if I want to talk about equality, I would say that the world is not made equal. None of us are made equal. Me, you, anybody else around us, we're not made equal. And maybe we should start thinking about equality in terms of that only. So we should talk about, we should start thinking about equality in terms of how we are different from each other and how you have an advantage over me in some areas of life and I have an advantage over you in some areas of life, and we learn to live with that.
Okay. So my question to Kapil sir, do you think that this book has the potential to offend your intolerant audience?
Well, everything in India offends the intolerant audience. We right now do not live in a culture where there is any sort of tolerance. I remember when I was planning on getting the book launch done, I went to a very dear friend who is an author and a known activist, and she said, Kapil, I don't think I can do the launch because there is stuff in your book that is going to offend people, and I don't want to necessarily say this is my point of view as well. And I really respect what she said. So it will offend people. This book will offend people much more than what other things would probably offend. And that is because there are perspectives and point of views in this book which, as I said earlier, are very different from the conventional and traditional point of views. Wherever I think I agree with the conventional traditional norm, I don't think I needed to discuss that in this book, and I haven't. In this book, we have only discussed areas that are different, the areas where we may have a disagreement with community at large.
So Bhushan, do you think that this book has the potential to offend your intolerant audience?
So see, I'm sort of a very, I don't like to go into all this. This book also, while I was, working on this book, I was not very sure of if I would want my name to be there. Because, I'm scared of this country and I'm scared of how people respond to things here. So, yeah, I believe that the book is going to offend some people and I'm going to face some flack for it. But, I've made up my mind that, no matter what happens, we'll sail through it.
Okay. So, the next question to Kapil sir and Bhushan. So is working with somebody almost half double your age on written opinion piece challenging because of the generation gap?
It definitely is challenging. It definitely is, different. But that's what has made it very interesting for me. Bhushan has been able to come in and bring a fresh new perspective based on his experiences and based on the generation that he is living in. So for me, I think that has been valuable for me in terms of looking at the book and what we have been able to come up with.
So I would ask to Bhushan, so what was your experience with Kapil, like writing a book or the journey of...
So see, Kapil is an extremely knowledgeable person, and that is what draws this relationship. So I'm somebody who likes to learn, and he's somebody who likes to impart knowledge. So I think this relationship works that way. And the one good thing about Kapil is that he's not all about imparting. He's about learning himself as well. So he's open to new things. He's open to listening. He's open to understanding. And I think that's what makes him a different sort of old adult. Because most old people are not, ready to listen. And they're not ready to listen, understand, and, figure out the world around them and how it is changing. But I think that Kapil has always been for change. And even if he turns another 20 years old, he'll still be, up to date in all aspects of his life.
Okay. So was it difficult to find a common ground because you both don't agree with everything? So how did you cope up with your problem?
See, I don't think it's that we don't agree. We have different approaches to looking at the same problem. So finding a common ground wasn't really that difficult because we were able to discuss and we were open to have other person's point of view be heard and be respected as well. And and really that's a very important part of the book. You have to be able to respect and you have to be able to hear other people's opinion, no matter how much in disagreement with yours they are. And so I don't think that has been a huge challenge. That has actually added value.
Okay. So this question to both of you. Are you two going to work together in the future as well?
Why don't you start?
I think the future is very uncertain for you, me, and every one of us. So I think let's not delve into that. What holds? I mean, whatever holds for tomorrow, we'll all get to know. Today, maybe let's not make statements that we can't live up to.
He's 22 years old. He has a career ahead of him. I pretty much have figured out a major chunk of my life. So I guess if he is getting value in this environment where he is right now, working with me, he will stay. Otherwise, he would go explore other opportunities. Will we work together at some point in our lives on something? I'm sure we will. But we'll get to see what it means.
So Kapil, our audience would like to know how you started working on your next project.
No. Have I thought about if I ever want to write a second book, what would it be? Yeah, I have. But have I started working on it? No. It's a little too early, it's a little too premature. Let me see the response to this book, let me see what comes out as critical, intolerant feedback around the book, and then we'll see how we take it forward.
So my question to Bhushan Bhati. So this book you have co-authored with Kapil. So our audience would like to know, are you thinking of writing your own book?
So I think this is a little tricky to answer because you see what happens is that to write a book you need to have your thought process figured out, and right now I'm not in that stage of life where I've got it figured out. Why this book happened because we never came to a middle ground, and that was the point of it, that we could never come to a middle ground, and that beautiful things emerged from it. So if I were to write a book for myself right now, no. 10 years later, maybe. 20 years later, I don't know. Time will tell. But as of now, I don't think I can see myself writing my own book, because you see, writing your own book about such things is also a little controversial because it's not exactly controversial. It's a little difficult because the book gets biased. You've only got one opinion, and that's your opinion. And you don't have anybody else, basically giving you a look in the mirror. that maybe what you're writing is not exactly what people want to read or what exactly is the truth.
So the Kapil was the reason that you wrote this book?
I think pretty much yes. So see, me and Kapil, if we disagree on a lot of things, we also do agree on a lot of things. So yes, there is a tangent where our thought processes do match, and that is why I was so engulfed in this project and intrigued to write this book as well. So yeah, I think Kapil has been a major chunk of the reason why my name is on the book. So yeah.
Okay, so let's move on to the last question. So the some final quotes that you would like to end with, Kapil Gupta.
So I guess the quote for me would be my old Twitter bio. I am an irrational human being. My choices are my choices. Do you mind? And that's really what I think is a core theme that I have always promoted. We all have different experiences. We all have lived through different lives. We all have seen different worlds. And we need to get in concurrence with that. We need to respect that about each other, and in that respect live a completely different life for each other. If we are able to do that, the differences that we see, whether it is caste or religion or gender or whatever else, it would cease to exist. We will have a more cohesive environment. We will have respect for each other. And by the way, I'm not suggesting equality in the sense of everybody getting the same thing. That's not what humanity is all about. That's not what life is about. That's what machines are about. And we are not machines. We are living human beings. And we need to have lives. We need to have everything which is differentiated based on our intuitions, based on our heart and our head, based on our soul, and based on whatever we would prefer.
Thank you so much, Kapil Gupta, for ending this session with a good, motivating quote. So thank you so much, Bhushan Bhati, and thank you so much, Kapil Gupta, for giving us such a delightful and insightful session. And all the best for your debut book. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello friends. Thank you for joining us today for the launch of our book, India Vision, The New Age Equality. I take this opportunity to congratulate my dear friend Kapil and his co-author Bhushan, and we welcome them on board at Prince Publication. The book presents an alternate view on a lot of things which surrounds India and surrounding the view about equality. While I may not agree with what Kapil and Bhushan has written in the book, but there are certain disagreements as well. As a publisher, I am really proud of the fact, and I request all the readers to have a look and read this book. Also, I put my sincere thanks to Dr. Sanjaya and Mr. Shivakumar to release this book. Also, I would like to thank the entire team at Prince Publications, especially the editorial and the techno-commercial team for their constant support to bring out this book. Thank you so much. And I would request all the readers to do read this book and post their reviews on our website.
Thank you so much for that, everybody. And thank you so much, Pranav, publishing the book. Thank you so much, Bhushan, for being the co-author. And my special thanks to Federation of Indian Publishers and for the Delhi Book Fair to let me launch the book within the Delhi Book Fair and the platform that it provides. I think being present in the space of intellectuals, in the space of readers with the Delhi Book Fair, I think this book will do really well. Thank you so much. And of course, special mention to Shiv and special mention to Dr. Sanjaya for helping me unveil and helping me launch the book. Thank you so much. And Shiv, your comments were amazing. I don't think I could have given a better review of my book than you did. Thank you so much for that. With that, we come to an end of this particular session. Thank you. Goodbye.